Are you looking to up your real estate investing game? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Sub 2 Deals Show with your host, Sub 2 expert William Tingle.
Hey, Sub-Tours. My name is William Tingle of sub2deals.com, and I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the Sub-2 Deals Show, where we talk about all things subject to. Now, occasionally, we will cover other real estate investing topics, but it will always be something to help you with your real estate investing business. Today is another episode in our Real Investor series, where we feature real investors sharing real stories and actual deals. These guys are investors doing deals all across the country. There are no boot camps or courses to sell with these guys, just real tips and strategies and things that are working today in their businesses and in their markets. They share them all, and these things can work for you too. So pay attention and take lots of notes. My guest today is Ashley Jackson. Ashley is a real estate investor in Houston, Texas. Now, she's been investing for over 2 years. She's been a full-time investor that whole entire time. Ashley's got 3 kids and a husband that's her business partner there in her Houston business. And she's just a rocket investor. She participates a lot in our Sub2 Deals forum, and I'm super excited to have her on the show today. So Ashley, welcome to the Sub2 Deals Show.
Thank you very much, William.
Well, I tell you, man, it's great to have you here. You know, I told you I've been wanting to have you on for a while. I think you've been posting in our forum for just about as long as we've been going. And it's really been a lot of fun watching your business take off and you guys become more and more successful. Tell us a little bit about your background, what you did before real estate, and just about your family.
Sure thing. Well, as you said, I am the managing owner of Innovative Solutions for Homeowners with my husband, Britt. I was an assistant principal before I was an investor. So I was in education for about 12 years before I took the jump into real estate. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. As you mentioned, I now reside in Houston with my husband and our children. And that's all we do all day long. We do real estate. My husband likes to joke that he's the brawn and I'm the brains, and we get it done together.
Yeah, well, that's great. I'll tell you, if you've paid much attention to me in the forums or whatever, I recently got married. I married me a girl that's a real estate investor too. So I know we have a lot of fun working together. I tell you, it's a lot of fun when you can actually work with, your partners. So I know you guys are having a great time.
Oh, we can't wait to get to where you are. You say you guys have a lot of fun working together. When I see your pictures, I see a lot of fun. So right now, we're a lot of work, and we can't wait to get to where you and your beautiful wife are, where there's some fun involved too.
Yeah, it won't be that long. I'll see the way you guys are ripping and running. So yeah, it's like I said, it's been exciting to watch you guys for the last couple of years and how you've been taking off down there. So y'all are in a great market too. I think Houston's still pretty hot, isn't it?
Houston's awesome.
Yeah, no, it is. Well, listen, what got you interested? I mean, with your background, what got you interested in real estate?
Well, back in college, everyone read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was the thing about 15 years ago. And so I knew eventually that I wanted to be a business owner. I didn't necessarily know that it would be, real estate, but I knew it would be something. And, as you go into your career, I had a career that was very emotionally draining. We worked in Title I schools. Title I schools are the schools that are in poverty, so there's not a lot of resources, there's not a lot of money, but there's a lot of need. And I was really beginning to feel burned out, and I knew there had to be something else. And so we went down to South Carolina. We spent half the year here and then half the year there. And my husband's grandparents were real estate investors and developers. And so they drove us around one day and they showed us all of the properties and buildings that they owned. And I could not believe it. I was like, someone I know, arm's length away, a grandparent. I'm like, you have all of this? Mm-hmm. Wow. And so they really wanted to share with us what they were doing. We weren't really sure we wanted to take that on. We were just, feeling comfortable in our careers. And then a friend of mine, her family member was, he was passing away, and he gave her a call and he said, God put it on my heart. I just wanted to impart on you, that real estate is my key. That's how I became wealthy. He talked to her about how he does real estate in the US and Mexico. And I was like, wow, that's funny you brought that conversation up, because my husband's grandparents just told us we should try it. So I took that as a sign. And I said, let me just jump in and see what happens. And so we jumped in, and the very first thing we got into was wholesaling. So we got into wholesaling to build capital so that we can purchase our homes in cash. My husband's grandparents warned us about, debt. They warned us, don't get into the loans. They told us they were in their 70s and they had just paid off some of their properties, and they didn't want us to go through the same thing. And I remember thinking, like, yeah, you guys are doing well, but we're not. How the heck are we going to buy an entire house with no money? It doesn't even make sense, and they're old school. They don't know anything about wholesaling. And so I started researching, like, how can I buy a house? I don't know how we can get started. They told us don't get a loan, but how am I going to buy a house without a loan? Long story short, we learned about wholesaling. Being a principal in a really huge school district like Houston, my network was limitless. I mean, my network is like, almost millions in Houston, working in a school district. And so we got, in the beginning, we just got so many deals just from me, teachers who worked with me, or, another principal, I ended up buying her house and selling it. So that's how we got started. That's how we became interested.
That's how, I know when I got started a little over 20 years ago, that's how most people typically got started, was with wholesaling. I was a little bit unusual, though. I really didn't have an interest in wholesaling. I was all about the cash flow right out of the gate. And, I had a decent job. I mean, I wasn't in education or anything like that. I was in the restaurant industry, but I had a good job. We made a decent salary. But I wanted to just really replace that income so I could, just take it easy, just travel if I want to do that sort of thing. Most people get their start with wholesale, but I know from talking to you that you've really kind of moved out of wholesaling, if I understand correctly, and you're all about cash flow now too.
Just a little bit, but a little bit different. So cash flow, I am all about it, but now with sub 2. So for me, I'm very laser focused. And I mentioned earlier, when you're already a reader, you're already a researcher, a studier, an educator like me. I enjoy reading, I enjoy learning, and I can teach myself well because obviously teaching, writing curriculum is kind of like my thing, right?
Sure.
So I was laser focused. The only reason I wholesale, the only reason I even do sub 2, the only reason I do owner finance, the only reason I do anything in real estate always goes back to the same exact thing: buying more houses in cash so I can have my 100% cash flow in my Section 8 rentals. So I think with my laser focus, I'm able to do a lot of different things in real estate because I know why I'm doing it. I'm not wholesaling because, it was bright and shiny and I thought it was cool. I'm wholesaling because, that's a ticket to get me more cash so I can buy more properties. Do you want to sell me your house sub 2? Great. Now I can sell it with owner financing so I can use the down payment to buy more properties. And the cash flow is insane. People have this crazy stigma about Section 8 rentals. Even some people in the forum, they argue me tooth and nail about my investment strategy. You work with those people, they're going to tear your house up, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, my cash flow is ridiculous. For instance, I have a house in Cleveland right now. We bought that house for maybe was it $1,000? Either $1,000 or $1,500. And most of that went to paying the wholesaler who found it, That's it. $1,500 tops just to acquire the property. I spent $15,000 to rehab it. And I'll say maybe I'll just round it up to 20 because I still had to pay, like other fees and things like that. I'm sure that racked up. Anyway, this whole house, $20,000 all in. It's now rented with Section 8. I make $1,011 a month on that house, 100% cash flow. The only thing I have to pay out is, of course, insurance, which is in a bundle, so it's not even that much. And then I have to pay our property manager because he also does the repairs and things like that. And I only pay him $100 a month. I hope he doesn't hear this podcast and hear me say only. But that is a really good price because the houses are kind of in D neighborhoods, So you got to be a tough guy to go out there. So anyway, yes, we're all about the cash flow, but our cash flow is insane the way that we choose to invest. It's not sexy, it is slow, but we're good.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you say that about Section 8, and I found that to be true too. Now, I'm not that way today. We have a pretty fine point on what we do today. All we do is acquire subject to and sell with seller financing. That's absolutely it. But, when I got started, I was more of a transaction engineer. And the only type of straight rental that I would do was Section 8, because Section 8 gives you the highest market rents. You know you're getting your check every month. It's coming from the government. And what I found in my experience was that if you give a Section 8 voucher tenant a decent house with a few things that they can't get in a normal Section 8 rental, they'll stay forever and they'll take care of that.
Yes.
You know, that was my experience with it. It wasn't negative at all. I didn't have any, I had more problems with people on lease options tearing up a house than I ever did Section 8.
Yes. We had the same experience.
Yeah.
Same
You know,
experience.
so we
Section
would,
8 tenants are okay.
yeah, we would do some extra things, like, you know, when we identified a house in you know, certain areas, or houses we could buy inexpensively that would be a good Section 8 rental, that would afford to pay, you know, what the Section 8 vouchers were paying. When we were in the process of fixing them up and had it listed with Section 8 office, we would, when they would come by to look, we would say, hey, we're going to do an accent wall in the kitchen with wallpaper. Would you like to pick your wallpaper? And they'd be like, what? You know, I mean, and what's it cost to paper one wall in a kitchen?
Yeah.
Or not putting the absolute cheapest sink in there, putting the, you know, the 9-inch deep sinks in, or putting a dishwasher in instead of a 24-inch base cabinet, which, you know, the cost isn't much difference, just little things that we could do to make that house better. It made all the difference. And when they moved in that house, they never wanted to leave. So I love Section 8 as a rental, personally.
What you're saying is exactly why mentorship is important. The reason why I was able to get into Section 8 and get the house rehabbed and things like that, you know, I reached out to Rhonda. She's my mom's friend, and she offered to be our mentor. Thank God for her. And she gave the exact advice you just gave. She said, number one, you need to treat them well. If you give someone a nice place, they're more likely not to tear it up. She said her number one priority is screening. You know, she taught me how to screen. One thing that we do that's a little bit different is we like to visit you in your current, you know, residence during the screening process, just to kind of see how you live there, and so you can get to know our team a little bit more personally. And that, to me, has made a difference. I think that one extra step of going to see how they currently live with Section 8 tenants tell you exactly what you're going to be getting. And like you said, don't use cheap finishes. In our Section 8 houses, and this is thanks to Rhonda, it's not my idea, but we always use ceramic floors. We try to use any kind of countertop that's hard, but still gives you like that granite look. But we really do try to use great materials. And we're on the third turnover for this house I just told you about. We have not, you know how you do your basic rental turnover, like for the ones on my cash ones, I have to do stuff, like I have to go in there and like fix stuff. I'm telling you, for this house, I have had to do nothing. And we're on our third tenant, and we're only on the third one because we didn't have enough bedrooms for the last girl who was there, and she got another house. But we've had a great experience. Cash cow.
Oh yeah, I think Section 8's great. Well, I mean, you got into it a little bit, but tell us in a little bit more detail. Tell us about your business model that you've got right now. Like I said, mine is strictly buying sub-2, turning and selling with owner financing. So tell us a little bit about what you do. You sound like a little bit more of a transaction engineer.
I like that title, actually. Yeah, I think that is. I mean, at the end of the day, again, my only goal is to have enough cash to buy more rentals in cash and get them Section 8 ready. And so I think the best thing about starting out as a wholesaler or a transactional engineer is you get exposed to so many different situations. And the blessing is they're not really your situations because you're not the buyer or the seller, you know, but you get the chance to see it and go through it because you're the wholesaler. So you kind of see your deal through. And so when we got into buying and creative finance, I had seen so many of these scenarios already before, just through wholesaling, that it didn't feel like a huge learning curve. So that was a great blessing. But again, everything that I do now, I try to find a way to say yes in any situation. I prefer wholesale because it's easier and it's clean, but I really, really like this sub-2 thing. OMG. And so we right now, we really have fallen back from wholesaling. The only reason I'm even selling off my properties now, I'm starting to sell, is because of Corona. We were going to do the short-term Airbnbs, and that's just not a good idea right now. So the only reason I'm even working with any kind of wholesalers right now is to get my own properties let go. But primarily, we're just doing sub-twos and selling with owner finance. We use the down payment so that we can buy other cash properties. Cash flow for my sub-twos or my owner finance properties versus cash flow for my Section 8, it's not even a comparison. So as soon as my buyers, close and I have my buyer in my owner finance house, I immediately send them to a loan officer so they can get refied. I don't want anything long term. I don't want any ties with it. I just want the down payment, buy another house, get another renter, and then I try to get rid of it and move on to the next. So I guess my motto is, I just want to buy and hold. I just do whatever I have to do so I can have enough money to buy and hold, because I don't do loans or debt or anything like that. But at the end of the day, all I want to do is just keep buying more houses, and whatever I can do on real estate to give me more money to do it, I'm going to do it.
I hear you. And that's interesting. I saw an article today, and we really don't know what's going to happen with this whole Corona thing. I mean, there's a lot of speculation on what's going to happen with regard to foreclosures. There's going to be a spike, or there's not going to be, because the banks are going to work with everybody. But the one I read today said that that the U.S. is going to lose a high percentage of jobs. It'll just never come back due to small businesses closing, and that rentals are going to be in great demand because so many people are going to lose their homes, and they're going to lose their jobs, and then they're not even going to be eligible to be homeowners for years to come. So, I mean, what I gathered from the article was there's going to be a real spike in the need for rental properties. And so rents are going to go up, and there's going to be more cash flow involved in rentals and that sort of thing. You've been following that pretty closely.
Well, the group is really good about that. I think it's Andrew in the group. Is it Andrew or Tyler? One of those guys, but man, they're on it.
Andrew, yeah. I call him the postman because he just delivers so much all the time. He's a lone guy that I think he lives in Fort Collins, Colorado, which isn't too far from me right now. But he's great at sharing information.
Oh yeah. I called him. I was in a crisis when Corona first started. I was like freaking out. I was trying to sell all these properties. And he gave me the opportunity to have a phone call with him. He talked me off the ledge and made me feel a lot more comfortable about what's to come next. I feel good, William. Like, I hate that people are losing their jobs. I hate that. And I hate that people will lose their houses, because it's not fair. It's nobody's fault. But I love that I have a solution. The bank won't approve you. Yeah. I will. Come on over. You give me a call. I'll have you in the house tomorrow.
That's right.
Okay, give me 2 days. I'll have you in 2 days.
That's right. I mean, and Jody and I were even talking about this the other day about how when people like Wells Fargo and Chase are requiring 20% plus down from their A borrowers, that in a lot of cases they get in our houses for a lot less down. So if you're a borrower with a 720 score, and the bank still wants 20% down on a $300,000 house, which is $60,000. You can get in our $300,000 house for $30,000 down. What you going to do?
Exactly.
So, I mean, we're going to have a much bigger market that we can sell to now. So, I don't know.
Honestly, I feel like it's about time. It's about time. I am so sick of the banks and lenders being the only gateholders, to who can and who cannot become a homeowner.
Yeah.
There's so many people who we've offered owner financing to. They've rented for years. They pay, they have a great history. They show that they always make their rent payments. And for me, I'm fine with that. You have student loan debt, don't we all? I'm not going to deny you because you went to college 30 years ago and took out a loan for a sociology class. So I'm so glad that you're disrupting real estate. You are really probably ruffling a lot of feathers, and I'm so glad that you are, and I'm so glad that I am, because it's not fair that one person or one industry or one sector gets to say who can or cannot become a homeowner.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I get really passionate. I work with low income families, and man, I love giving keys to those families.
That's right. If you're responsible and you can make the payments and you have the down payment required or whatever, you should be able to buy a house. I absolutely agree with you. Let me ask you this. Now, you've already mentioned that referrals were one of your best sources for leads, especially when you first got started. Now, my question usually to investors that I talk to is this is just the way I put it. If your life depended on generating quality leads within the next 24 hours, uh, what would be your go-to right now to make that happen? So I know when you got started, it was referrals. What is it the same today?
William, 2 years later, 99% of all of our business is still from referrals. And that's only for the sub two part. Obviously with our wholesaling, with our rentals, buying homes, other things that we do some marketing for that. But as far as sub two, every single one that we've had, except for one, has come from a referral. So if I had 24 hours, I would probably hop on the phone, call all of my past clients, buyers and sellers, do a quote unquote check-in. How you doing? How's the house? Anyone else? And I'll be on my car while I'm having that conversation, driving for dollars
Mm-hmm.
to get a wholesale deal. But for sub two, everything has come from a referral. And I love the referrals because we have instant credibility. I've never been
Mm-hmm.
in a situation where someone's questioning me or skeptical or, well, why should I go with you? It's no, my sister said you're the one and you're the one. So where do I sign?
Mm-hmm. So if someone's out there right now and they're listening to you say referrals, so how, and they're just getting started, so they don't really have too many previous sellers or buyers to go to. How would you recommend for them to get started?
Oh my gosh, you have to tell everyone what you're doing. I
Mhm.
guarantee you, especially now with this pandemic, one or two people who are in a situation where they need to have someone help them out with their mortgage pay. I mean, one or two, but they just don't know what you do.
Mhm.
Everyone should know what you do. Like on your Facebook, yeah, post pictures of your kids, but post pictures of your houses that you're buying or the houses that you hope to buy one day, or but let everyone know what you're doing. And then you need to figure out your networks. I think so many people, especially the first question you asked was about, going full time and leaving your job. So many people do that. You don't realize that's your source. So a lot of our referrals come from my husband's 9 to 5. He still works in Aldine, the school district where we both, spent many years. And so
Mhm.
we get so many teachers, principals, parents of his students, our own family members. We Everything has come from a referral. So I would say use your networks. Are you a member of Toastmasters? Does everyone know what you're doing there? Do you go to church? Does everyone at your church know that you are the person if if they have some real estate needs? Your neighbors, do your neighbors know? You really just have to let everyone know what you do, because even with our first one, it came from another principal. She didn't know anything about sub two, neither did I. but um, but
Well,
she trusted me.
yeah, well, I'll tell you, I totally agree with you. I remember when I first got started and I put magnetics on my car, and I had a lot of, you meet other people or you talk to people that want to get started investing, that sort of thing. They're like, oh, well, I'd be kind of embarrassed to have those on my car. And I said, listen, the first time you get a $50,000 check, you won't be embarrassed anymore.
Mm-mm.
Okay. You have to let people know what you do. Everybody that you come in contact with should get a card or know what you do or be able to see the magnetics on your car or whatever. And I totally agree with you. That's how you'll get a lot of leads.
Yes. Just don't be creepy. Don't be that guy that's like, yeah, I'm in real estate. And, if you're working your own networks, I think the best thing you're going to have is you. And just
Hmm.
having, just slide it in conversation wherever you can. I know
Hmm.
the people who get most excited when I'm talking about real estate are the ones who hear me say, I love real estate, or man, I love what I'm doing, or man, I made another family happy today. It's not,
Hmm.
here's my card. Hey, I'm your guy. You need something, call me. It needs to be personable. It's your network. That
Yeah,
would be my
that's right.
advice if anyone's doing that.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it can't be just all about you. You have to be sincere in that. But yeah, I mean, you definitely can't be afraid to let people know what you do. That's for sure.
Mm.
Okay, guys, a lot of great information from Ashley so far. Hey, when we come back, she's going to share with us her favorite tools that help her in her business. So we'll be back in just a few seconds. You guys stay with us.
The Sub 2 Deals Show with your host, Sub 2 expert William Tingle. We'll be right back. Hey Sub 2ers, have you been trying to learn how to invest in real estate? It can take you years to learn the ropes on your own. How many people do you know who have been looking into real estate investing for years, but have never bought a single house? Do you have shelves full of courses but lack the courage to get out there and close on that first deal? Are you tired of so-called coaches who always seem to have just one more thing to sell you that you absolutely must have to be successful? Are you tired of trying to piece it all together with YouTube videos and free forms found on the internet? Is that really any way to build a business? William Tingle has been coaching real estate investors all over the country for over 16 years. And if you are ready, he can show you how to buy all the houses you want, anywhere you want, without ever having to ask a banker for one thin dime. Contact William today at sub2deals.com and schedule your free 30-minute strategy session. Talk it over, and if you think you're finally ready for success, he'll get you going. Back to the show, the Sub2 Deals Show, with your host, Sub2 expert William Tingle.
Hey, Sub-Tours, we're back today with our Real Investors episode of the Sub-2 Deals Show. Today, I am talking to Ashley Jackson. Ashley is a real estate investor in Houston, Texas, and she is talking to us about how their business has just exploded in the last 2 years that they've been investing, and a little bit about her strategy. When we left, she was talking about her best sources for leads, referrals, and now she's going to tell us a little bit about her favorite tools that help her in the business. So, Ashley, tell us, what are the best tools that you have in your business, the things that you just couldn't do without?
For sure, my title company. You need a great title company who understands subject to and owner finance reps. So how did I find? We use Alan. I hate saying his last name, Shesker, but he's here in Texas, and he too is an investor. You know, he does subject to and he sells with owner finance. He happens to be an attorney who owns a title company. What better title company to use, you know? And what I like is they walk you through it from start to finish. This is what they do all day long. So I felt very safe and protected in my first endeavors with subject to. Any paperwork that you need, they'll send to you. They'll check your contracts. They will send you a contract that's already filled as an example to say, here's what it should look like. You know, what else did they do? I just felt very protected when I went through Alan's title company. You also need an insurance agent who understands what you're doing. And so we use Mike Monzingo. And he too is an investor. He does owner finance with wraps. He happens to be an insurance agent, so he does it extremely well. He knows what he's doing because he does it for his own. So my top two, a great title company who can hold your hand and an insurance agent who knows exactly what he's doing. Outside of people who are not me, I think my greatest tools are my superpowers, which is marketing and advertising. Working in a lower socioeconomic neighborhood, you know, in a school, getting the kids to come every day is very difficult. Getting the parents to come is even more difficult. And so my job was marketing and advertising. How do I get these kids and these parents to want to come here every single day? I had no clue how easy it would be to transition. So I use Facebook, OfferUp, and if you're the forum, I have this in. You'll probably have to look back, but I wrote down every single thing that I used on the forum a couple months ago. But Facebook, OfferUp, and Let Go are my top three for finding owner finance buyers. Facebook, OfferUp, and Let Go, and not the Facebook ads where you're paying for it. I do that for my wholesaling, but for Sub2 and selling with owner finance, all you have to do is go into the Facebook marketplace. You have access to 3 billion people for free. You just got to hit it hard, though. I think a lot of people think I made, I post it. It's like I'm on there all day, every day. I mean, you are flooded with Ashley Jackson when I'm trying to get my properties to go off, and I've never had one not sell in 30 days. And again, this is $0. It's all free. It's all online. OfferUp, Let Go. You want to sign up for the zip code that the house is in, not the zip code that you're in, and it's absolutely free.
So if you had to make a recommendation on that, and I know the power of Facebook Marketplace. I mean, I think I told you, my wife Jody just did. She's really funny. She used to be a wholesaler and a short seller, and she told me when we met, she said, I used to think all you Sub2 guys were house bandits. Y'all stole houses all the time. And but she just did her first Sub2 deal, and she got it through Facebook Marketplace, just posting over there. So yeah. So we were pretty happy about that. So
yes,
she's decided we aren't house bandits anymore. So
So what are you guys now? House heroes?
What's that?
I said, so if you're no longer house bandits, are you now house heroes?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Well, you know how it is. I mean, a lot of people get started, and they're like, yeah, well, that sounds good, but I don't think anybody will give me a house. And then it happens, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, okay, I see. When you meet a motivated seller, you know how it works. So
Yeah.
until you do that, you really don't. But if you're just making a recommendation, you said you are using, from the sound of it, you're using the offer up, let go, and Facebook Marketplace really to move your properties. Is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if you had a recommendation from somebody, it was okay. How many times do you need to post over there? Are you recommending posting multiple times a day, once a day, or how do you do that?
So I have 2 Facebook accounts, and then I made my husband get 2 Facebook accounts, although he does not do social media. And then we have a Facebook account for our business. So we have 5 different Facebook pages that are posting the same houses that we're selling. Probably post maybe a lot. Probably every time I pick, I'm a millennial. Every time I pick my phone up, I'm on Facebook. I mean,
So
maybe 5 times a day on Facebook, maybe, and that's from each account, so maybe a total of 25, and maybe you can only do 1 at a time on offer up, I think it is, and then on let go, maybe like 5 a day. It's literally all that I do, and it takes 2 seconds. I copy paste.
yeah. So are you, and let me ask you this, when you're posting in the marketplace, and you said when you're moving your properties, you're posting in the zip codes of the house where the houses are located. So
Mhm.
are you having a problem with these groups deleting any of your accounts or kicking you out or anything? Does that happen very often with you? Because I know in talking to some other investors, they have told me in the past they've had a problem with Facebook Marketplace groups that'll boot you for posting too much.
I only join groups that are, that will allow it. But honestly, I'm a part of so many real estate groups because we invest in so many different states. So I'm probably a member of so many. I don't even, if I got kicked out, yeah, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so it's not just like garage sale groups. I mean, or do
Oh, no,
you?
no, no. Yeah, no. Yeah, I do some garage sale groups, but I do the marketplace period. The marketplace is separate from the group. So the marketplace is literally just anybody who wants to buy or sell anything. And then from
Got
there,
you.
you can specify it for real estate.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so those are your recommendations: referrals for getting deals, and then Facebook offer up and
Yes.
let go for disposition.
Yes. And then remember too, and I tell this to a lot of people who reach out to me about subject too. I'm not doing 10 a month. I'm
Mhm.
right now we're doing like 10 a year. So for
Right.
the guys who are skilled and this is all that you do and this is your bread and butter, referrals might not necessarily work. For us and
Mhm.
our business model, um, you know, 10 a year is perfect.
Oh
That's
yeah.
right
Well,
on par with what we need to buy more
listen,
houses.
you can run a good business doing a dozen sub twos a year. That's what I've been teaching for the last couple of years. You don't have to buy 5 houses a month. You can buy one a month and
Yeah.
make a very good business out of that. Okay.
Slow and steady wins the race.
That's right. So actually, what are your criteria when you evaluate a sub two deal and you decide if you want the deal or not? I mean, what do you look for with regard to cash flow or equity or condition of the property?
Well, for sub two, I'm looking for the front end. I need that
Mm-hmm.
front end down payment so that I can do what my main business is, and that's buying more rental houses. For cash flow, I honestly could care less. I do the cash flow because people go for it. I mean, and I always expect people to say no. For instance, we have one house now, and I just made the pity like 2350. I didn't think anybody would necessarily go that high. Usually they always negotiate and say, hey, if I put more down, can I have a lower down payment? Or here's what I have, and I'm ready to negotiate. But people said yes. And then I was like, okay. So I just kind of kept doing it like, well, I guess I'll just stick with 10% rule. So I kind of I don't care. Like if I make $50, I don't care. Because the first thing I want to do, I want to get them refied. But right now, even though we do get, I guess, considered quote unquote good cash flow, I do it for the upfront. The cash flow from sub two has no comparison to my cash flow with my rentals.
Right.
And I really, and even though the loan isn't in my name, and this is fear, and I need to get past it. I don't know why I still have an issue with owing. I'm a debt-free person, and so even though it's not my debt, just knowing that there's a mortgage and I'm somehow involved, it just makes me feel all weird and William Tingley inside. So so I got to get rid of them. I don't want to. I don't want to have cash flow.
I
I also
understand.
like the back end too. You talked about this a couple months ago. I had never even thought about back end, and then I had one of my very first buyer refi like a year ago, and we got like $1,200 back, and I was like, what? Because we had kept it so tight. I didn't realize that the reason you do the wiggle room is so when they do refi, you get another big check. So we learned that lesson, and so I guess I go for the upfront and the back end.
Right. Well, that gets you 2 rental properties, Ashley.
Yes, 2 for 1.
Yeah. But I understand, I've talked to a lot of investors, and I'll tell you, your whole, the way you've set your business up is unique. Yeah, I've never spoken with anyone before who will do sub twos purely for the front end to buy a rental property free and clear, and then want to do the back end the same. They don't care about the cash flow. For most people, it's about cash flow, but yours is definitely unique. I like it though. I like the way it works. If you buy a sub two and just through one sub two, you get to buy free and clear rental property. That's pretty sweet too.
Oh, I love it.
Okay. Well, can you give us an example of a deal that you're working on right now?
Yes, so I think the one that is most appropriate for this show is a newer construction home. It's in a gated community, and the owner was a young man who lived there with his girlfriend and children, and he passed away in like this terrible, terrible incident. And so we had just purchased the house across the street, subject to, and like I told you, the referrals. And so the seller told the deceased, he had a girlfriend. He told her about me, and she reached out. And so we went ahead and we tried to close on this back in maybe December or January. And we got to closing, title company, and we could not close because they were not legally married. She failed to mention that they were never legally married before he passed away. And so when we did the the affidavit of heirship, she did not have the right to sell the home. When she would have to go through probate, but she didn't have any money, and I didn't know what else to tell her other than if you want to sell this house, you have to have the right to sell it. Well, a few months later, she gave us a call. This had to be about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And she said that the courts did honor her common law marriage and that she couldn't get the decree now because the courts were closed or something like that. But somehow she got it, and we are closing on June 30th. We sent it into title. And you know what? I had no idea you can get married posthumously. Did you?
No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I know. Me and Prince might have to work something out. But so that is the one that I'm working on now.
Well,
so we're trying to find a buyer before we close, which is why we gave ourselves until June 30th.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, the interesting thing about deals like that too is that you learn so much. And so next time you run into a situation like that, then you'll know, what needs to be done, or, it'll probably be pretty rare that you run into something like that. But, affidavit of heirship is fairly common in issues where, someone died and things are going through probate and that sort of thing. But it sounds like you've been through that now, so you'll be pretty familiar with that.
Yeah, that goes back to, you said earlier, what are your top 2 tools? A great title company. You need a title company who can walk you through it and hold your hands, because they've seen a lot more deals, and a lot more sticky situations.
Right.
And they were happy to help us or help her figure out how she could
well, that's great. Well, let me ask you, what some potential numbers on this deal. What is it? How are things looking? I mean, as far as what you're going to be able to do up front, and then of course on the back end and that sort of thing.
Okay, so it's a brand new house. So we're going to keep the price when we sell it to our end buyer the same as all of the other new construction in the area, which is about $230,000. They
Right.
still owe $204,000 on the property. The pity is $1949. That includes everything though. What else about the numbers? There's not a lot of equity, if we were to sell it retail. So obviously that's
Yeah.
why we would
Once you
think about
once
that one.
once you get your down payments, you'll get most everything out of it. Then in this situation, it looks like.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much making up equity. That's one thing I like about owner finance buyers. They don't really care about the price. They care more about the monthly payment. And
Mhm.
I know my end goal is just to make sure that this house appraises so I can get the back end later. So this one is going for 230. The interest rate that they have on there is 4%.
Mhm.
Um, she is a little bit behind. She's behind 2 months. They moved out 2 months ago to move with her own family. She
Mhm.
didn't want to live in a house anymore, which is fine.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else about this house. This house is beautiful. It's like in a gated community. I mean, it's perfect. If anyone with any sense would want to move into it, I hope. But
Right. So you'll sell this house for around 230, and
yes,
what do you figure you'll get down on it?
10%. I always ask for 10%. So I'm
Right.
gonna have her put, and that's so great because in this situation it literally makes me whole. Like the
Mhm.
10% will put me right where I need to be to get it at 230. But if
Mhm.
they have less, I don't honestly, I don't care. I mean, I'm really not that person. Like I want 10% down, but if you don't have the whole 23,000 and you have 17, I
Right.
can buy a house for 17,000. I'll
Oh
take it.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. You got to be flexible. We ask for 10%, but I mean, it's, you'll take 7 or 8% if you've got the right buyer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, the
Absolutely.
extra couple of months you could hold it waiting for the perfect buyer with 10% is going to take up, what you would if you just took less to begin with. So, it's
Yes, I
all.
learned that with the first one. With the first one, this is my number and this is what we're gonna do. And I waited and like you said, had I just accepted a smaller down payment, I would have probably ended up with more money up front. Learned that lesson.
Right.
So if they're great and they have enough to help me reach what my goal is, yeah, I'll take it.
I got you. Okay. Well, tell us about your most unusual deal. I love this is one of my favorite questions in the podcast, and I've heard from investors that had scenarios with divorcing people where there was a murder for hire plot. I've had all kinds of 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 answers to this question, but tell us about your most unusual deal. The one that had the most difficult circumstances or the most moving parts. Um, Tell us about in the 2 years you guys have been investing, which deal was the most unusual one?
So the most unusual deal was not a sub two deal, but my
Mm,
most unusual sub two deal was, oh, I don't know if I can even say this. Oh, okay. So instead of saying their name, I'll say we worked with a large real estate investing company that has lots of commercials.
okay.
And we did a kind of like a wholesale with sub two. So I acquired a property sub two. And then it had so much equity. So there was no way I was going to get a down payment that was going to pay me what this house really could. So I went ahead and went with the commercial person that I saw on TV that you probably see too. And it was terrible. So number one, I think these guys are so big that they just hire anyone to kind of fill the seats. They're not necessarily hiring the best of the best professionals, right? So they had no idea what subject to was. And so I spoke with the title company. I tried to explain to them what subject to meant. They accused me of stealing the woman's house. They told me that they would need to speak with her to get permission first because they just couldn't imagine why anybody would have just signed their house over to me for I think we paid her $3,000. And
Let
so
me let me back up a second. You're telling me this major company that advertises a lot didn't
yes,
know what subject to was,
no clue.
or
And
at
so
least the
then
the franchisee in your area didn't know what it was really. Correct.
exactly. So they
Yeah, I
only
got
use
you.
one title company in each state. And the
Got
title company that they use in my state, they just started using. So before it was, I don't know if I don't even know if I can say the name, but before it was a regular old title company, and then this big guy came and just bought that title company and made it a part of theirs. So it's not necessarily experienced, or they don't know stuff. And so they told me I stole their house. They told me no one would give their house for $3,000. They wanted to call her. They wanted her to sign off on things. So then they have an attorney who worked there, and then the attorney called me. And so then the attorney, I guess he Googled some stuff, and he's like, well, if you're going to do it like this, you have to have X amount of language. Now, Laura from your group gave me my sub-2 docs as an example, to kind of get mine. Plus, they were overlooked by Alan Sesker. So I knew my stuff was right. So I'm going back and forth with this attorney. I'm feeling like I'm on trial. I'm like, did I steal her house? Like, damn, I mean. So we ended up having to, what did they want me to do? Oh, so I ended up having to speak with Open Doors management to have them change the title company from their title company to the title company that I like over at Alan's office. And then when they got to Alan's office, I think Alan's office assumed that because they were these big guys that, they kind of knew what they were doing, so we really didn't micromanage them. To make a very, very long story short, because it took us almost 3 months to close, the house was in foreclosure. I didn't know when it was going to finally be official. HOA was down our throats because she owed them. She had liens. Then they had the water company leaving notes on the door because she had the water off. It was terrible, William. And then this just happened. We closed on this March 6th. So this is right before the coronavirus hit. If this deal didn't close, I will probably be in a really bad situation right now. If it didn't close when it finally did. But it was the worst experience of my life. I will never, ever, ever work with those guys again. If I do, I'm going to have to be a meanie head and just take over and, go into principal mode and say, no, this is how it's going to get done. It was absolutely terrible. They were rude to my title company. It was just terrible. Like, they didn't order the survey when they were supposed to. They offered to help us with moving, and then at the very end, they forgot that they were supposed to move all the stuff out. So we had to go and it was terrible, William. I'm sorry. Yeah. It was the worst. And I'm still very emotional about it because it was only like 8 weeks ago.
Right.
It was terrible.
So I'm guessing that Ashley has in her contract now that she always closes with her own people, her own title company. And if they won't do the deal that way, it doesn't get done.
I've never used another title company for sub-2, but I thought because these guys were so big and they're on TV and blah, 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 I'm like, this is going to be easy. I can sit in the passenger seat. Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're right. I will always use mine.
You have to stay in control of it if you want to make sure things go like you want them to go. That's for sure. Yep. That's how you learn stuff when you go through experiences. That's where new clauses get put into contracts all the time. That is for sure. Well, tell me, Ashley, I mean, you've been doing this for 2 years now, and you obviously, I mean, I know a lot of investors across the country, and there are people that have been doing it part-time for 10 or 15 years, but you're already full-time and have been for a while. So tell me, how did you learn to do what you do that, gave you a leg up and got you so successful so quick?
I think the number one, mentorship. When I first when I got into wholesaling, I would say that I did not need a mentor for wholesaling. Anybody can figure that out. Wholesaling is very simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple. With that, we went to some classes. I think we went to a class offered by Linda and Leo Mascarello here in Texas. And they kind of talked to us about what wholesaling was. They talked to us about the importance of education. Of course, YouTube University, in my generation, that's pretty much where we get all of our information from. So YouTube has been a great resource as well, only for wholesaling. For sub-2, my number one resource is obviously your forum. The people who are there help walk me through everything, every document that I've ever needed, any questions that I've had, any question that title company who didn't know what they were doing had, has come from the group for sub-2. For sub-2, I do not use YouTube or anything like that because it is so tricky. That you really do want to get your education from people who are actually doing it, who are actually in your market. And thank God people have been so gracious to help us out with Section 8 rentals mentorship, because it's very difficult, at least in my experience, to pass a Section 8 inspection if you don't understand what it is they're looking for. And then also having a mentor to tell me stay away from debt, her saying that, and my husband's grandparents telling us that. I think if I can leave anybody with any advice, my number one piece is stay out of debt. Stop over leveraging yourself. You look at Corona and all these guys who had pictures in Ferraris. I mean, they lost a lot of money because people aren't paying rent or paying their mortgages. You don't want to be in that situation where you're on the hook for it. Even with my owner finance, that's why I like them to refi as soon as they possibly can. I was scared to death. I think it was like April 1st. And I was like, oh, shoot. Who's going to pay and who's not going to pay? Because I cannot pay 12 mortgages.
Right.
And so I can only imagine if those mortgages were actually in my name, and attached to me personally or even to my business. So stay out of debt, stay away from loans. You don't need them, and you don't need a Ferrari either.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Hey, listen, a Toyota will get you where you're going. Cars, as long as they're safe and dependable. These people, and I know some full-time investors that'll tell you, their dream is a Lambo, and I'm like, why? It's I don't get it. I mean, hey, if it's what you like, oh, great, but I just I would rather spend my money on things that create memories, traveling or doing things like that. That's just the way I am.
That's how we are. We're looking forward to our family RV trip. We want to see what it's like to RV full time. So we'll be
Ashley,
real estate.
Listen, I'll tell you, when my kids were like 9 and 12, we bought an RV and took off for 3 months and went up into Canada and down the East Coast during the fall. It was amazing. Full-time RVing is great. It's absolutely. It's, we looked at pricing those, I can't remember, the ones you see out on the roads, the something America, I can't remember what it is. But that's how I bought my first RV. I said, how much is it going to cost to rent one of these things for 3 months? And they gave me some insane number, like $15,000. And you know what I did? I got on eBay and I found a used Class C that was in good condition with low miles and paid a couple of thousand more than that for it and flew out and picked it up.
Yes.
Yes. So, but yeah.
Do you still have it? Can we buy it?
I don't. I've had a couple since then. I got rid of it and I bought a Class A and had it for a while, and then bought a fifth wheel and had it for a while, and I don't know what we're going to get next, but man, I absolutely love RVing. I do. Absolutely love it.
So excited. 3 of our neighbors just purchased RVs, and we're not want to keep up with the Joneses at all, but we always had freedom in mind. And I just think there's nothing more free than not being tied down to anything, no job, nothing, just
right.
Loving your family and having an adventure.
The great thing about it is, you check out the parks where you want to go and you find one you like and you pull in there and maybe you plan to stay 2 weeks or a month or whatever. And if you don't like it, you can hook it up and leave. And if you love it, you can stay another month.
Yes.
But yeah, I highly recommend the East Coast during the fall, Maine and all up there. There's so much history and everything. We're going to turn this into an RV and podcast, but it's fantastic lifestyle.
Nice.
You're going to love it. So let me ask you this. You told us a lot about your business, how you guys got started, where you get your leads from, how you get rid of your properties. If you could give new investors wanting to get started any advice, what would it be?
Get started. I am a new investor. I am a brand new investor, especially in this creative financing niche. And the only reason I'm in it is because I got in it, I bet you already know a couple of people who need your help. I bet you can already get started. I bet there's a club, a real estate club. There's something for you to do, but you just have to jump in. You can read and research until you're blue in the face, but think about it. In your own profession, do you really want to learn everything about an entire industry and then hope you can answer one question one day? Or do you want to take that one question and really research it and know everything about it? I think the latter is the smart thing to do. So when I'm investing, learning about Sub two, I'm not learning about every single real estate thing that could possibly happen in the whole wide universe, which is what so many new investors do. You get caught up reading and watching and going to all of the classes, and you never actually do. My advice is do, and then when you get in, while you're doing, you'll get into situations where you need to learn. That's when you get laser focused and research. You should just focus on getting started, and then as you go, you learn as you go. That's a good way to put it. You just learn as you go, but you just gotta go.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'll tell you, I had a guy give me a call. It was a few months ago. He called me and said, William, can you help me? He said, I've been, in the forum, I've been learning a little bit about sub two, and I've done some marketing and had a seller call, and they want to meet me now. And I'm actually in my car on the way to meet them. Can you help me? I need a contract and need for you to tell me how to fill it out. Now you talk about somebody who's taking some action, building a parachute on the way down.
Yes, that's my person. That's me. That's me.
And he's still in the forum. He's closed several deals now. He's doing remote stuff, and just got started. But he just said, "Hey, I'm going to jump out here, and I'm going to do this stuff." And let me qualify that by saying, you need to have access to people that can help you. You certainly don't want to be doing that if you don't know what you're doing, and don't have access to people that can get you through the weeds. But I mean, I would much rather take somebody like that and just get them through than somebody that wants to learn for the next 10 years and not take any action at all.
Yes, 2020. I mean, the whole excuse that I don't know anyone and my parents weren't wealthy and they can't help me figure it out. I mean, you can't use that anymore. You really can't. You can join a group like yours and learn so much. There's so many books and so much literature out there. There's really no excuse not to get started at this point. Right. Especially me. I mean, you look at someone like me, I'm a Black woman. When you think about that, especially in America, like I'm at the bottom of the totem pole socially. So if I can get myself out here and get it done and get deals and have a great business, nobody has any reason why they can't get out here and do it. Just do it. And then ask William when you don't know what to do next. William will tell you the next step. He'll probably send you a nice PDF on how to do the next thing.
Yeah, come on to the forum.
People who'll help you.
We'll show you how to do it. Well, Ashley, again, man, I appreciate you taking the time to share with us today. I know you got, you were telling me about your 1,000 kids. Not really, guys, she's got 3, but we're in agreement that 2 boys should count as at least 50 apiece. And I raised 2 boys too, so I know where she's coming from on that. But I know there are going to be some people who have listened to your story and want to talk to you about that. Can you tell our listeners how to reach you if they're wanting to do some deals together, if they're wanting to talk to you about your business or whatever else? How can they get in touch with you?
Oh, yes, for sure. Well, definitely you can send me an email, info@jacksoninnovates.com. I'm on Facebook. You can just probably look up Ashley or Jackson Innovates and I'll pop up. We're also on Instagram, Jackson_Innovates1. We're on YouTube, Innovative Solutions for Homeowners. If you search that, we'll pop up on there. Yes, please, I encourage you to get in touch with me because I think it's not often you get to speak to another newbie who's new like you. I don't know everything. I'm not a guru. I'm still figuring it out too. And I think it's a lot more comfortable to speak to someone like me than it is to speak to some of these heavy hitters in the group because they'll help you. They're busy. They're heavy hitters. So, we can fumble along together. Give me a call or email and I'm happy to talk to you guys.
And you are in the greater Houston area? Or are you guys a little bit outside Houston?
So we're in Houston. We're closer to the Cypress Tomball area.
Mm-hmm.
But our markets are Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio, and Delaware. Those are the areas where we really like to invest. So if you have anything there that you're trying to work on, I'm happy to partner with you.
Oh, wow. So you're doing remote stuff too. We didn't even talk about that, but you're doing remote stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. So anybody that's doing business in those states or in the Houston area, you guys reach out to Ashley, and I know she'd be glad to network with you and get you going. Okay. Well, again, Ashley, thanks so much for being with us and sharing the information. I'm sure everybody's gotten a lot out of it. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, William. I still can't believe I was on your show.
Okay, Ashley. We'll chat later.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Well, Sub-Tours, that is it for this episode of the Sub-Two Deals Show podcast. You can find the show notes for this episode along with a complete transcript at sub2podcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe. Please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It only takes a minute and it helps others discover the show. You can subscribe as well as leave a rating and review by visiting Apple Podcasts and just do a quick search for the Sub-Two Deals Show. It'd also be great if you would consider sharing our podcast with a fellow real estate investor who you think may benefit from it. And finally, if you haven't yet, you can join our absolutely free Facebook Subject To group at sub2forum.com. You can also get lots more resources to help you grow your real estate investing business at sub2deals.com. So until our next show, keep learning, keep talking to sellers, and you will buy some houses.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Sub-Two Deals Show with William Tingle. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit sub2deals.com, on Facebook at Sub2Deals. We'll catch you next time.